In recent years, there have been some really good and really bad movies that were based on book series. Today, we're going to count down the top 5 and worst 5.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Now, we won't be counting standalone books like To Kill a Mockingbird, The Book Thief, or Ready Player One. We're only counting somewhat recent series, and to further narrow the search, we're going to do fantasy or sci-fi series only. This is just because there's a million books out there that have been made into movies recently, and we can't really cover all of them. Coming in at number 5 on the worst movie adaptations is The Hobbit. Now, some of you might be surprised by this, because The Hobbit did do a lot right. They got Bilbo almost perfect.
Put those back. Put that back. Put that back. Not the jam, please. Excuse me. Excuse me.
A tad excessive, isn't it?
Smaug was pretty cool in that one scene with Bilbo. There was also some other really fun scenes that they did pretty well in comparison to the books. The problem is they tried to stretch one children's book into 3 long movies. They also used way too much CGI.
Who would be so bold as to come armed into my kingdom?
And they added a bunch of characters and romances that really didn't have any business being there. Overall, the franchise felt kind of like a money grab, and I think everyone watching it knew this. For someone like me, who their favorite book is The Hobbit, this was a really disappointing trilogy to watch. The 5th best book series that was turned into a movie is Narnia. Narnia did have its fair share of bad acting moments, unnecessary fight scenes, and really weird added romances, but for the most part, it did a really good job of staying true to the books.
She thinks she's found a magical land. In the upstairs wardrobe.
All the plot elements remained the same, and Aslan was incredibly well portrayed. The visuals are pretty fun for the most part and kind of captured what Narnia is all about, and I think what they did the best was their casting. The characters were exactly as I imagined them, and they did a good job of embodying the characters that C.S. Lewis put down on paper, especially Eustace. I hated that character equally in the books and the movies. Number 4 on the bad list is The Golden Compass. This movie was just bad.
Our greetings to you, great king. Or rather, my greetings, and not his.
There's a ton of info dumping at the beginning of the movie.
There are many universes and many Earths parallel to each other.
There's a lot wrong with this movie, ranging from how they basically cut out the message of the story and ended up burying the plot in a lot of unnecessary world building. But the most atrocious part about this entire movie is the fact that they completely changed the ending.
Mrs. Coulton, they're gonna kill him. Then I'm going too. You said you was gonna come and get me. You got me.
Number 4 on the good list is The Hunger Games. It's pretty well known that Book 3 should have been just 1 movie instead of 2. That was another cash grab that we don't like. But aside from that, the movie series does a pretty good job of staying true to the books while actually being pretty decent movies. If we just considered the first one, it would actually be higher on the list, but they kind of dropped off as they went and got worse. But still, I felt like they did a pretty good job of staying true to Katniss's character as well as the others, and making the movies at least interesting to watch, even if you hadn't read the book series. Number 3 on the bad list, A Wrinkle in Time. I'm just going to throw up these ratings on the screen, and you can see why this was such a bad movie adaptation. I'm not even going to talk about the movie to book discrepancies. It's just bad as a film in general.
Call me Mrs. Whatsit.
Mrs. Who?
No, Mrs. Whatsit. Mrs. Who is, she's like a billion years older and way more knowledgeable.
Number 3 on the good list, A Series of Unfortunate Events. I know we limited this to sci-fi and fantasy, but I felt like A Series of Unfortunate Events kind of falls into that a little bit.
Sonny, keep your eye on that balloon!
And the road.
Was the baby driving?
He's more of a toddler now.
And even if it doesn't, I just like them, so deal with it. While there are some minor changes and added scenes to the TV show, I mean, they do have to fill 40 minutes worth, so it makes sense that they add stuff. But for the most part, they do a really good job of sticking to the source material. Not to mention, it's just straight up fun and quirky to watch. Just to clarify, I'm not talking about the movie which starred Jim Carrey, although that was pretty decent. The TV series does a much better job of embodying what the books were all about.
We have to celebrate your arrival.
In all honesty, I prefer long-form television to the movies. It's so much more convenient to consume entertainment from the comfort of your own home.
Number 2 on the bad list, Percy Jackson. Oh man, these were some of my favorite books growing up, and I was so excited about the movie. And like anyone else who was excited about the movie, I was incredibly disappointed. They messed up seemingly every character. Grover was just not Grover anymore, and it's not because he's black. I don't mind that. The problem is that Grover just isn't Grover anymore. He's supposed to be this shy, timid dude who's not really confident in his abilities. Instead, he's this like strange ladies' man, and I don't even know. Like, just look at this scene. Okay, and then there's
Annabeth, daughter of Athena, the goddess of wisdom.
Annabeth is not even close to what she's supposed to look like, let alone how she acts. And then they didn't even have Clarice in this movie. I just don't understand that. They kind of combined Clarice and Annabeth into one character and completely made her look different and called her Annabeth.
Whoa!
I don't even know. I just hate this movie so much. Logan Lerman actually did an okay job as Percy. But since they scaled everyone up for the series, it just didn't make sense because he was supposed to be 12 in this book, and here he is as a 16-year-old. He would have been a really good Book 5 Percy, but the problem is this is supposed to be Book 1. Also, I'll give credit to Luke. Luke was actually pretty spot on. Okay, that's just talking about the characters. I could also talk forever about how they completely screwed up the plot.
Right now, there's 3 pearls in the United States. This map will guide you there. Right here is your first location. Once you find the first pearl, the map will show you the next one, and then you're off to Hades.
But here's a quote by Rick Riordan that pretty much sums up why this movie was so freaking bad. The script as a whole is terrible. I don't simply mean that it deviates from the book, though it certainly does that to the point of being almost unrecognizable as the same story. Fans of the book will be angry and disappointed. They will leave the theater in droves and generate horrible word of mouth. This is an absolute given if the script goes forward as it stands now. So this is actually from an article outlining all the advice that Rick Riordan gave to the producers of the movie upon reading the original script, and obviously they chose to ignore this advice, and that is ultimately why the movies ended up a total pile of garbage. Number 2 on the good list is Harry Potter. Now, all of these movies are pretty decent. There are some complaints about splitting Deathly Hallows into 2, and there are also some characters that kind of had to find their footing at the beginning of the series, and characters that act a little bit differently than they were supposed to in the books.
Harry, did you put your name in a goblet of fire?
No, sir.
You asked one of the older students to do it for you?
No, sir.
You're absolutely sure?
Yes, sir.
But come on, these are good movies. They stayed true to the books on all the important details, and they were so magical. The music score from these are iconic. The sets are now the basis of parts of a theme park. The story will never be forgotten, and honestly, they just did an incredible job all around. There may be some small complaints here and there by superfans, but for the most part, Harry Potter is what you want to happen when your books are turned into movies. Okay, before we get into our very worst movie adaptation, here are some honorable mentions. Inkheart.
He wants you to read for him. Well, he's out of luck. I don't read aloud anymore.
The Fifth Wave. Vampire Academy.
I ask about Carp, and it's no eye contact and a subject change.
Enough. Your training of late has been quite.
So the worst book-to-movie adaptation of all time is, without surprise, Eragon. These books were incredible, so there was a lot of potential for this to go really well. And then this happened. So let's break down what made this so horrible, starting with the characters. First of all, Galbatorix is just not even a little bit scary. Look at this guy.
To whom is not the issue. When the Varden learn that the legend is real, they will be encouraged to challenge me.
Most of the other characters have some small differences between themselves and their book counterparts, but that's excusable if you have to find the right actors. But then there's Arya. She's portrayed as this warm, friendly elf who takes interest in Eragon, always dresses in white, and kind of looks like Galadriel. But in the book, she always wears dark clothing, has dark hair, and is super cold toward Eragon. None of those have anything to do with casting. They're just portraying her in a completely wrong way. Saphira, I'll admit, looks kind of cool in the movie, but she doesn't look right at all. She's definitely not supposed to have feathers. Next up, they didn't really capture the feeling of Algasia. The sets almost looked like they didn't have enough money to build anything really cool, and so this is kind of what they could throw up at the last minute. Next, the plot was not even close to what it was supposed to be. There's actually a whole web page outlining the insane number of discrepancies, but I'm just going to highlight a few key points. They basically condensed the entire book into a really short time frame for the movie. They broke seemingly all the rules of magic. And then they revealed all the wrong information at all the wrong times. This set up a sequel for the movie that was absolutely impossible to reconcile with the books. All in all, they just did a really bad job of making this into a movie, but what's weird about this is that they had a larger budget than any of the Lord of the Rings, and it still ended up so bad.
Let's finish this!
So why did that happen? Well, they ignored the books and didn't really consult Christopher Paolini. I'm starting to see a pattern here. Before we get into our best movie adaptation, here are some honorable mentions. The Maze Runner. The Magicians. Divergent.
1, 2, 3.
I also feel like I should mention that Game of Thrones should be somewhere up here at the top, but I haven't read the books or seen the show, so sorry about that.
Bring me his head.
The best movie adaptation of a book series, in my opinion, is The Lord of the Rings. The movies are objectively good. There's no weak actors holding it down. It was an award-winning series. There is incredible visuals without too much CGI. It's fun, it's character-driven, they have the extended versions, and just so much of it is incredibly well made. It had great cinematography, awesome sets, great music, and all around, Peter Jackson did an incredible job of making these movies exactly what you would hope for from a Lord of the Rings movie adaptation.
It's done. Yes, Mr. Frodo. It's over now.
So that's my list of the best and worst movie adaptations of book series. Let me know what you agree or disagree with, and if I left any important movies and books out. This video took a ton of effort to make, so if you enjoyed it, please leave a like and send this to someone you think might also enjoy it. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.